The Fantasy Football Show, Wednesday night, Week 11, Fantasy Football Rankings. I'm Zach Bruner. To my right is Trevor Land. Luke Reimer will be joining us shortly. I assume he's on his way home from work. And we will be doing what we do every single Wednesday. We will be comparing my rankings on Fantasy Pros and Flurry Sports to the rest of the industry consensus. See where we are higher and lower than the consensus. See if we can get you some sneaky spots here to edge out your league mates or in daily fantasy, stuff like that. And yeah, I don't think I'm missing anything.
Let's just jump into. You're missing one thing. Shout out to Corbin Burns for winning the Cy Young. Good stuff. I know you don't care about that, but I do.
Great. Hopefully they put a banner up for it.
We can't get an actual trophy, so we might as well take that one.
Fair enough. Take the wins when you can get them, I suppose. Let's jump into quarterbacks here. I don't know why. I felt this week ranking quarterbacks was tougher than any other week. I have Josh Allen number 1, taking on the Colts. I have Lamar Jackson 2 at the Bears, Dak Prescott 3 at the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes 4 versus the Cowboys, and Tom Brady on Monday Night Football versus the Giants. Who do you agree, disagree with? What do you think of those guys?
Looking at them now, like obviously in fantasy, usually look at singular players, but looking at all these matchups stacked up against each other, I can definitely see what you mean. Personally, I'd put Prescott and Mahomes 1 and 2, no matter how you rank them, and move Josh Allen and Lamar to 3 and 4. Just because although Lamar and Josh Allen are must plays, there is always the question mark about the defenses they're playing in Indy and Chicago. Whereas Dallas and Kansas City defenses, I mean, I would bet a lot of money on this game being, a 30-point shootout, both teams.
That makes sense. I just feel like the range of outcomes for those guys are so much wider than the other two. But I mean, I could hear arguments for the top two too. Like, I think even the top 5, like I think Brady, would it surprise you if Brady goes to play the Giants, getting revenge over the Giants on Monday Night Football after losing back-to-back games? Would it surprise you if he throws 5 touchdowns? Because it wouldn't surprise me. Would it also surprise you if he continues his interception streak? Because that wouldn't surprise me either. Like, this week sucks. It's top to bottom. Like, I have Kyler Murray at 10. Could Kyler Murray return from his injury and light up the Seahawks? Absolutely. Like, I have no clue what to make of these guys.
Well, even then, and obviously we might talk about some of these guys later, but you look at 6 and 7, Hurts and Herbert against New Orleans and Pittsburgh, respectively. Who the hell knows how that's going to turn out? If Jalen Hurts doesn't run into the end zone, he might be 12. He could be 1. So.
Yeah, and Justin Herbert, like that initial matchup seems tough on Sunday Night Football. Then you look at Justin Herbert in primetime, and that's when he plays his best. 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in 3 primetime games. Again, I guess maybe the comparison's fine, actually. Like I've been saying on this podcast and everywhere else, like the Chargers are trying to make Justin Herbert into Drew Brees, and it's not working. It's taking away what he does best. But Drew Brees lit it up in primetime, so maybe that's fine regardless, I guess. I don't know. Also, I would assume TJ Watt is out for the Steelers this week. It wasn't as serious as it initially looked. I can't imagine he plays. Obviously, that's a massive loss to their pass rush. They also no longer have Melvin Ingram, who they traded away, and their secondary is not great. So I think that's an interesting spot there. I haven't looked at the consensus yet. I could imagine, or I'm going to take a guess and say I'm higher on Herbert, but I kind of like that spot for him. I don't know.
Isn't Minka also out with COVID?
Currently, so yeah, like he could definitely be out. He could come back. So,
because I mean, obviously, if he's out too, that's great for Herbert. Yeah. And this Chargers team makes no sense. So it would make complete sense that they lose at home to Minnesota, look bad, and then just beat the brakes off of Pittsburgh, who won't have a quarterback. So that'll be interesting.
And the Vikings are just as confusing as the Chargers are. I have no idea if they're good or if they're bad. And it completely depends on the day. They make 0 sense. Speaking of 0 sense, what's your thoughts on Ryan Tannehill versus the Texans? because this is another guy. Like if the Titans decide they want to pass the ball, I think they'll have success. But Houston's defense also isn't the worst. I don't know.
It's so weird too. I gotta look it up because him on the ground makes no sense. Yeah, he has a running touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games. Like I get
Vanilla
Henry's
Vic.
been out for some of them, but like what? No, don't you dare. That's Sam Darnold.
Take the Scooby do it. Take the masks off, and it's going to be Sam Darnold.
So he has all those running touchdowns, right? But then you look passing touchdowns. He only has more than one in 2 games, and he has 2 games where he also has none. So you literally have no clue what you're gonna get at all. This could now I'm concerned because I thought I knew what I was gonna do this week, and now I clearly do not.
Luke, do you have any initial thoughts on Ryan Tannehill taking on the Texans? Because Trevor just said he has 4 rushing touchdowns in the past 5 weeks. It looks like a good matchup, but I have no idea what the Titans are going to do, and I have no idea if he's going to look good or bad.
I'm wondering if he's taking goal line rushing touchdowns. Not necessarily design plays for him, but just the idea that, Derrick Henry's not there. Let's spread everyone out and have Ryan Tannehill go make a play.
See, my theory was they would do the Scooby-Doo thing and take the mask off him, and it would be Sam Darnold. And we'll find out Sam Darnold was good this entire time. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Tannehill's he's always been a weird one for me because I always thought he's like average, and then he has these great weeks, and then he has shitty weeks. It's a very tough player to evaluate in my mind.
No idea.
So sorry, Trevor.
Any other quarterbacks that are notable you want to talk about? Maybe Cam Newton. I have him at 17, but he's playing his old coach. And this is one of those matchups where I legitimately think Rivera has ideas of how to stop Cam. Like sometimes those narratives are overblown and stupid. I think there's a case to be made that Washington can win this game, and specifically because of game plan.
My only worry with it is Chase Young's out.
Yeah.
He has been kind of up and down this year as far as contributing. I know Washington was against the Packers. I think they were subbing him out on 3rd down and stuff. So I don't know what their whole plan is, but I don't think that should deter because I still think Washington has the best defensive line in the NFL.
Speaking of teams that make no sense, I give you Washington.
I mean, also in that Packer game, they dropped him into coverage too. So I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't trust them to design a game plan, I guess.
A guy that I'm thinking of, Justin Fields. Am I crazy for thinking he's going to have a solid week? Like you have him ranked at 20. Baltimore's defense is obviously okay. They'll be looking to get revenge. But I think personally he's just a better version of Tua, if I may. Like obviously not the same player, obviously, but I think he can do more damage than even Tua did to this Ravens defense.
You're not crazy. The Ravens, we know what the Ravens are going to do. They're going to blitz and be vulnerable to the pass. I've just seen Justin Fields against pressure this year, and he's been bad. So if he calms down over, using the bye week and has a little bit more poise or whatever, I think he could be great. But it also wouldn't surprise me again if he throws 3 interceptions and he looks similar to what he did against the Browns. So, yeah.
Justin Fields, if you're watching, do some yoga. Get your mind right.
Look at all the books Aaron Rodgers has recommended on the book club on Pat McAfee. There's a lot of mental health, wellness, awareness that'll help you out, I think. Be here now. That's one of the big ones. Okay, so I'm looking at the consensus, and I'm pretty much dead on with everybody, which is annoying. And I don't know how to feel about that.
Probably bad.
Yeah. I'm lower on Cam, Fields, and Matt Ryan by 2. And I'm higher on Tyrod Taylor by 2. And that's it. So pretty much the same. I don't know.
That doesn't bode well.
No, it doesn't. I kind of want to make a massive change right now.
Jalen Hurts to 1, baby.
Baby. I don't know. Any other quarterback you guys want to talk about?
Well, actually, I mean, we'll talk more at length about it on our podcast afterwards, after this one, Lombardi sweep. So stay tuned. But Aaron Rodgers, obviously, I think we all thought he'd come out like a man possessed against Seattle. And granted, some of the plays were because of just drops. But even then, his passes weren't completely on the money. And to be honest, he just missed some. Um, Minnesota could be an interesting challenge. He kills Minnesota, but at the same time, like you said, we don't know what Minnesota is.
Yeah.
This question that I'm sorry, do you want to keep talking about Aaron Rodgers? Because I have a different question.
I'll just say really quick, like it was clear that the timing was off, and I can't imagine that continues. He also talked about, like, you two were there. Was it windy in the stands? Because he talked about the wind swirling pretty heavily on the field. Obviously, it's completely different on the field, but that could make a lot of sense with like that Aaron Jones sideline pass that was behind him and a couple others. But to your point, also there was just many drops by Allen Lazard and some other players.
Yeah. I would just to speak on that a little bit. The wind. Trevor. I think we were in the same end zone. The wind was at my back, kind of pushing south. So there was a little windy. I didn't really notice it that much to affect all these to make this big of an effect in the game. But I'll take Rodgers' word for it. I'm sure there's a little bit different on the field compared to how many rows up.
The snow was swirling a lot, like when it came to the stadium. That was pretty obvious. So the only thing I can think of is with all the bodies around it, the wind just kind of seemed subdued, but on the field with that open area, it kind of started swirling again.
Sure. What do you got, Luke?
So the question that I want to pose to you guys, maybe this is just more than quarterbacks, but first of all, do we know who's starting at quarterback for the Jets this week?
Joe Flacco.
Are we all in on the Jets this week?
Oh, no. I'm all in on Joe Flacco, but I'm not all in on the Jets.
They play Miami. Yeah. And Miami gives up the most passing yards.
Fuck, I don't know.
I'm going Tua. They're going to get that offensive lineman on a jet sweep, which, by the way, Zach, I agree with you. Fuck Tua for saying that. That offensive lineman was an athlete. That was beautiful. How dare he?
Tua sucks.
Stay healthy, you bum.
He's a Dollar Tree version of Russell Wilson with the way he looks, the way he talks. And if he got hit the way that lineman got hit, he'd still be laying there. One, because he's injury prone. Two, because no one would help his ass up because he's a bitch. He's the worst. Like, screw that dude.
He is. Tua, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
He's slowly climbing my shit list.
Uh-oh. Let's get up there with Sister Jean.
Mm-hmm. Sister Jean's number 3 right now.
I need to see Sister Jean and Tua scrap. I don't know who's more frail.
Good point. Stay tuned to the end. Maybe we'll find out who number 2 is. But let's go to running backs here. Again, have PPR scoring. Number 1, I have Dalvin Cook this week versus the Packers. And again, we'll talk about this more in the next show, but I think Dalvin Cook's going to have a big day. Christian McCaffrey 2 versus Washington. Nick Chubb 3 versus Detroit, assuming he gets cleared, obviously. Jonathan Taylor at the Bills is 4. Joe Mixon 5 at the Raiders. I thought the first 2 were pretty easy to rank for me, but then it kind of got difficult for like 3 through 8, to be completely honest. But Luke, what do you think about those running backs?
My only qualm, if you will, with this top 5 is I think I'd throw Najee Harris top 5. Mostly because, I did a little research before this episode, guys. I'm coming up with some stats. But the Chargers are giving up the most rushing yards per game. And I think that bodes well for a very bad Steelers offensive line, which bodes well for a very good Najee Harris, which bodes very good for a Ben Roethlisberger-less Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is a game where they just hammer Najee Harris. I think they should hammer Najee Harris all game. I think Mason Rudolph may be the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now. But I think Najee Harris has to be relied on. I definitely think the Steelers team can beat the Chargers. And based off of Najee Harris and that rush defense, it seems like a perfect equation for a big day from Najee Harris for me.
I think Ben Roethlisberger comes back. He's not like ruled out, right? I think he plays this week.
Does he?
I mean, he's still on the COVID list, so it's determined on that. But I don't know. It doesn't matter either way. To your point, the Chargers are terrible at stopping the run, and I would be in the same boat with you, except for last week they were very good at stopping the run for the most part against. I mean, Dalvin Cook had his runs, but he wasn't terrible. If it is Mason Rudolph, I hate Najee Harris just because we know Mason Rudolph's not going to look downfield at all, and the Chargers can devote extra guys to stopping the run. Either way, though, I mean, he's great. Once they get into the red zone, he's for sure going to get the ball a ton. I don't know. I just don't trust it. Like, I think their offensive line's getting better. I don't trust the game plan or the play caller at all in Pittsburgh right now. I think they may have the worst play caller in the NFL. I think Seattle's up there, but I think Pittsburgh's really bad.
Fair.
Who is relevant to talk about? I have the Patriots running backs back to back. Ramondre Stevenson at 21, Damien Harris 22. I believe Damien Harris will continue to be the goal line red zone running back. So if you had to ask me who has the better chance to score a touchdown, I think it's definitely Damien Harris. But I think Ramondre Stevenson's proving to be too talented to keep off the field. I think it has to be a timeshare. It'd be stupid if not, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Makes me sad.
Yeah, is this offense good enough where one player is going to get, you could start both of them? Or are you trying to chase a touchdown in this backfield?
I think kind of yes to both questions. I think it's good enough where, or at least the way it's shaped around, I think they're going to run it when they get in close pretty much no matter what.
You're right.
And I think they're good enough to rack up yards, but I also think both of them have a really good chance to score. So,
especially against the Falcons too, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm hoping so. We have games against the median too. I think 2-8, and I'm still in the hunt, but I need to start winning. And Damien Harris is my 2. So if he could kindly step the hell up, that would be greatly appreciated. So Damien, I know you're a fan of the show. Let's get like 2 tutties this week. What do you say?
I'm for it. Another relevant running back, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire at 26. I believe he'll come back. I think he's going to be fine, but I think they're going to split the work with Darrell Williams, who I have at 24. Wayne Gullman, people I feel like have been way lower on him than me. Obviously, he came in for Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson should be missing this week. Plays the Patriots, who are fine. I have Goldman at 28. Trevor, I know you like him. You wrote about him in your streamers article. I assume you're with me here?
Yeah, he's only owned in 0.8% of leagues, it makes no sense, quite honestly. Like, Mike Davis is not a part of this offense at all anymore. Like, nothing of substance. And they're not going to simply give all the work to him because, as good as he is, he was only able to be Christian McCaffrey for like 3 weeks before he broke down. They gave Galman the carries. They're clearly going to keep giving it to him. Passing downs, I'd assume they still give it to him without Ridley. I kind of look at this. Do the Patriots take away Pitts? Like, Pitts has been inconsistent, but he's got to be the biggest threat. So Gallman's got to be the 2. He's got to be the guy this week.
Did you say he was owned in 0.8 leagues?
Yep.
It's crazy. I'm in 11 leagues and he's not available in any of them. But that's a different story.
It is ESPN, so.
You're right. I agree that I think Kyle Pitts is the one they take away. I don't know. I think New England's absolutely going to kick the shit out of Atlanta tomorrow night. I don't think Atlanta's any good. I think they're one of the 6 worst teams in the NFL. I'll cap it at that. So Galman does not excite me. I mean, I understand he's the number 2 option. He's probably going to get the work. I don't think he's going to do anything with the work because I think the Patriots defense is, they're going to get after Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's going to panic. He's going to throw interceptions. This seems like a similar game like last week that New England had with the Browns to me.
That's fair. And I guess the big question would be, especially if you think Atlanta's going to be absolutely horrible against them, the question would be, can Galman do enough on the ground, through the air, whatever, without scoring a touchdown to be fantasy relevant? Like I said, I have him at 28, so it's not like I'm saying you need to start him in your RB2. He's in flex territory. But I have him like over Tony Pollard, Jordan Howard, Zach Moss, Deontay Foreman, Boston Scott, Dearness Johnson. So, like, again, those are all meh guys. I kind of like them. I think Mike Davis might be more involved than you think, Trevor. But I also think he has been, like, largely unexciting. And Gullman's at least shifty and quick and can be a change of pace, a spark to a bad offense, kind of like Cordell Patterson. So, yeah, like, what do I have Mike Davis at? It's definitely lower. 43. So I even put him behind David Johnson. So take that. That's got to be insulting.
Now, if I'm Arthur Smith, I'm running a Wildcat like Miami did in New England, 14 years ago or whatever, the whole game.
They've been running
Mike
Wildcat.
Davis.
They got Matt Ryan back there.
Yeah, right.
True. Yeah, it's gonna be a weird game. I'm with you. I think it's going to be one-sided, but I don't know. With these primetime games, I have no idea.
Okay, you think it's going to be one-sided? Do you think it's going to be a shit pumping or a clowning?
Are those different terms?
Yeah,
I don't understand.
A shit pumping is like you kind of bury it. So, like, let's say the Packers score like 3 more touchdowns last week and hold the Seahawks to 0. That's a shit pumping. But if they're throwing in like trick plays and new players and stuff, that's a clowning.
Okay, I gotcha.
I'd go with clowning then. I think it's going to be ugly if there's a term for that. Like, I don't think it's going to be a fun game to watch. I don't think it's going to be exciting. I think we'll see a lot of the kickers.
Yep.
Damien Harris is going to throw a touchdown to Jacoby Myers. Just when you thought, hey, he finally got one, a running back's going to throw one to him.
I like it. Okay, so these are weird. So I'm comparing my rankings to the consensus right now. Alvin Kamara, I guess, isn't cleared yet, but I have him 19 spots higher. Damien Harris, I have at 22. That's 4 higher. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is 8 higher. Yeah, okay, so Wayne Gullman, I have at 28. The consensus has him at 41. And I think that's crazy.
Yep.
Where do they have? So they have him, like, behind Mike Davis. Okay, whatever. Patrick Taylor, I think he's relevant. Patrick Taylor is the now RB2 for the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Jones being out. He's a smaller, quicker guy than A.J. Dillon. I'm not saying you need to start him. I'm not even saying you need to pick him up. But I have him at 55. That's 21 spots higher than the consensus. And I think he plays enough snaps to be relevant. I think he plays meaningful snaps. If Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon were 55-45, like that's just a number off the top of my head, I would guess this is 65-35, in my opinion. What do you guys think?
Well, yeah, he's going to have to play. I mean, you can't give A.J. Dillon every single touch. You know, you can't have him be hit every single play. So I agree with you, Zach. I'm in the same boat with you. You know, maybe he picks up, 4 or 5 carries for 10, 11 yards, something like that. I would think of him more if I like him a lot more if you're doing like a 1-game DFS or something like that. Maybe you try to chase a touchdown with him for low. But I agree with you. Otherwise, I don't think he's very fantasy relevant. It just seems like a change of pace. Give A.J. Dillon some breaks here and there, and continue running with the offense.
Second that.
So, quick list of guys I'm lower on, and this is between 4 and 6 spots lower than them. Ezekiel Elliott at 11, David Montgomery at 18, Saquon Barkley at 20, Antonio Gibson at 23. I stand by my take on him earlier, like a couple weeks ago. Mark Ingram at 27, Zach Moss 31, Deontay Foreman 32. Nobody else who I really care about. I'm 7 spots lower on Alexander Madison. I don't know how many times I need to say that he's not relevant when Dalvin Cook's healthy. Last week was a fluke, like one fluke play. So, yeah. Any of those guys you want to talk about?
I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Tennessee's backfield in general.
I still think it's straightforward. I think if they get into a situation where they are trailing, I think it's going to be Jeremy McNichols. They just haven't been trailing without Derrick Henry.
Right.
So Derrick Henry's stock has dropped more than anybody's over the past 2 weeks, and he hasn't been on the field. And then I think Adrian Peterson gets the first crack at the lead back carries, early down stuff, and Deontay Foreman I think spells him. So if they're winning, I think it's those two. If they're losing or in a competitive game, I think we see quite a bit of McNichols, and I think there's going to be quite a bit of people angry, like in a couple of weeks when the Titans are trailing, and they're like, "Oh, now McNichols goes off." Like it's just a game script thing.
Yeah. So they're playing the Texans. They're probably going to be winning this game, right? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who just want me to ask this bluntly because I'm sure they're Derrick Henry owners and they have Adrian Peterson and Dante Foreman. Which one are you starting if you had to pick one, or you're not starting both of them?
No. I have Deontay Foreman a couple spots higher just because I think he has a slightly better chance at a touchdown.
Yeah,
but that's it.
So it's basically a horse apiece.
Yeah. Any other running back you want to talk about?
We have a running back related question. We also have a wide receiver one, which we'll get to in just a second. But Jake Vardaro, I'm trying to trade James Robinson and Terry in a 2-for-2. Any ideas of guys I can go for?
It would help to know the rest of your team.
But it's tough. Do you need to upgrade? Because if so, reach on maybe like a running back one, maybe. If you're looking to get more depth for whatever reason, trade down. In terms of avoiding, I'm avoiding Saquon. I'm avoiding James Conner. I'm avoiding Nick Chubb.
I like Nick Chubb. It totally depends. Like your guys' point, it depends on what you're trying to do. If I'm trading away two guys, I really enjoy doing 2-for-1 and getting one really good player back, just to have that roster flexibility. So if you have, you're trading kind of a RB2, wide receiver 2-ish, wide receiver 3, I suppose. If you can somehow upgrade that running back to, what do you guys think about DeAndre Swift? He's not a guy that scores it. I like him a lot. He doesn't score a ton of touchdowns, obviously, on Detroit. Would you do that trade?
Oh, yeah.
I would. I think he's the only good player on Detroit. So
Jamal Williams is on that team. Show some respect.
And Boyle, too. He's fair. Tim Boyle's going to upset, who do they play this? The Browns. Chalk it up. I just wrote up how the Lions are going to cover the spread. They're 11-point underdogs, which is insulting to Tim Boyle and Dan Campbell. And I'm not going to take it.
And hey, so I predicted Detroit to win in our NFL picks. A little sneak peek.
So did I. Oh, next week. I picked them last week, and I wasn't.
Oh, I did too.
I wasn't right or wrong. So that's good. Jack JC. Start Brandon Cooks at Tennessee or Terry McLaurin at Carolina. Not stoked about McLaurin in the Dante Jackson matchup. Let's jump to wide receiver rankings. We'll answer that, then go to the top guys.
I feel like okay, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I would assume it's going to be Brandon Cooks. I have Brandon Cooks at 13, Terry McLaurin at, how far down is he? Oh, I have him at 22. So I think it's clearly Brandon Cooks for me. What about you guys?
It seems to me that a lot of people forget that Stephon Gilmore is also on Carolina, and he's been playing well the last couple of games. So I'm not so certain it's going to be McLaurin, Dante Jackson, or it's going to be McLaurin, Stephon Gilmore. But either or, I'm going Brandon Cooks.
Multiple times already, Gilmore's already said, like, give me the top guy. He did that with Pitts. Like, give me the top guy. I'm just going to follow him around all day. So he's been doing well. I would assume that's what he does here too. Mm-hmm. But what do you think, Trevor?
So you have Cooks over Brown and Johnson? Because right now I have Johnson, Allen, and Brown in my lineup and Cooks on the bench.
Yeah. Like I said, last time Houston played against the Dolphins, it was a must-lose matchup for them. I think Tyrod Taylor lights up the Titans. Titans give up, I believe, the most yards to wide receivers in the league. I like Brandon Cooks this week.
Yep. Playing from behind, they're going to take some shots. And That's the only guy they got to take a shot to.
Pretty much. Well, there's another question here. Should I trade Adams for Chase and Patterson? I would assume Devontae Adams. I don't think I would.
No.
Go
ahead, Trevor.
I would, but only if you're making the playoffs. Like if you have a spot locked up, I think Patterson could give you some very interesting flex capabilities. Obviously, we have a couple weeks for him to come back. Adams has not been great week to week this year. Although I think he's better than Chase, I think that gives you a hell of a flex that if you're in, I mean, I kind of look at that could be the missing piece.
The thing is, if the guy you're trading to, hopefully he doesn't make the playoffs if you do this trade, because giving someone Devontae Adams for the playoffs in cold weather is absolutely crazy. But you know what's wild? Jamar Chase only has 3 100-yard receiving games this year.
Yeah, he has been great.
Yeah,
like people love to hype up the amazing games he's had. He's also had a ton of drops still, so people are talking about how he completely cured that too. Yeah, I'm not a huge Jamar Chase guy the rest of the way. Even though I ranked him pretty high this week, so ignore that for the next couple seconds here. But I do have Devontae Adams at number 1 this week at the Vikings. Tyreek Hill versus the Cowboys at 2. Deebo Samuel at the Jaguars 3. A.J. Brown, I said it last week, I'm going to rank him high this week, and I did. A.J. Brown 4 versus the Texans, and then Stephon Diggs 5 versus the Colts. Trevor, what do you think of those 5 wide receivers?
Well, it pains me because I go up against A.J. Brown and Stephon Diggs. So that's kicking the balls. But, obviously Devontae, Tyreek, they got to be 1 and 2. I think Devontae 1 is a smarter move. Deebo Samuel has been just something else this year. Like, I think we all knew his usage would go up. But to this level, it's insane. The only question I have with A.J. Brown and Stephon Diggs is for A.J. Brown, his hands, is he going to make the catch, right? Like we've seen him struggle with that a little bit. And for Diggs, there have been times where Buffalo is way too eager to just dink and dunk with Cole Beasley, which is ridiculous. And I'm a little nervous that's going to happen again. I hope it does, though.
Good.
Well, yeah. I mean, I agree with you, Trevor. And, well, I mean, I like this top 5. I mean, to me, you can order them really anyway, and it doesn't really matter. But just going forward, just obviously more than this week, does Deebo Samuel's usage go down a little bit now that George Kittle's back?
Doesn't seem like it. I think his usage goes down a little bit now that Brandon Ayuk is back.
And Brandon
Ayuk, talking like mentally back. But I still think Deebo Samuel's clearly the best receiver they have, and shown by last week, they were handing the ball off to him. So I think they're manufacturing ways to get him the ball specifically, which is nice to see. Like they did that with Brandon Ayuk last year when Deebo was banged up, and they haven't done that with him at all this year. So
is Deebo Samuel even that good of a receiver, or is he just one of those gadget players who dominates in fantasy football?
I think he's as good of a wide receiver as you could claim like A.J. Brown is. Like I think he's strong after the catch and
fast.
Yeah, he's a strong guy. Like route running wise, like I think he's fine. But yeah. Game plan, like the design of their plays are super good. It's the same type of thing with McVay and Cooper Kupp. Like Cooper Kupp's a great player, but he's made much better by the way they drop plays.
Yep. That's how I feel.
Sean McVay is worse at other things, but he draws up great plays for Cooper Kupp.
A question from GGG, I think. Zach Moss or Alex Collins? I'm going Zach Moss all day. I don't know if Carson's going to be back, but this Seattle run defense looked absolutely pathetic last week, and I don't see that changing even against the Cardinals defense down still a couple players.
It depends on if Carson plays. If Carson doesn't play, I'm for sure going Alex Collins. I disagree with the way their run offense looked. I thought they looked extremely well, and if they ran the ball the entire game, they would have killed the Packers. They just stopped running the football. They would go 1st and 10, run the football, get 5 yards, and then throw it 50 yards down the field, and then do a bad throw on 3rd and 5, and then it'd be a punt. So I like Alex Collins quite a bit if Carson's out, if Carson's in, which it seems like he has a good shot to come back. Then I think default you would just go Zach Moss. What about you, Luke?
Yeah, there's too many ifs around, Seattle's offense. Like you said, Zach, if they would have ran the ball, it would look good, but instead they ended up passing. Chris Carson plays, and Alex Collins is nothing, right? So just to eliminate, I still think Zach Moss is, a solid running back. I know there's a lot of mouths to feed on that Buffalo offense. Josh Allen's going to take some rushing, going to take some goal line rushing, but I still think Zach Moss sees, maybe a little bit more work.
Follow-up question on Alex Collins from Truly an epic question, I would say. Alex Collins or Miles Sanders? Yeah, thank you. Miles Sanders supposedly could come back this week per Nick Sirianni. Alex Collins obviously in a opposite situation where Chris Carson could come back. Fuck. So let's just assume Chris Carson's out and assume Miles Sanders is back. I think I would go Alex Collins.
Okay, good. If you were going to go Miles Sanders, I would slap you through the screen.
I don't know. I hate a lot of people, but I don't hate anyone as much as Philadelphia hates Miles Sanders. And I don't know why. I think he's a good player. They just won't use him. So I feel like they won't use him correctly when he comes back.
Who does Philadelphia play this week?
Detroit. Oh, no, never mind.
No,
they don't play Detroit.
They already
got excited.
Detroit, I think, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Detroit plays Cleveland.
They play New Orleans.
Eagles play. Oh, yeah. I don't want any part of that then.
Yep.
No.
Yeah. Although, if you guys are interested in trading for Miles Sanders to me in the Dynasty League, I think he's worth a first. But in reality, I think it's Alex Collins by a mile. Like you said, they don't like Miles Sanders. I don't know why. I think it's they don't like their number one running back type of thing, because look at Kenneth Gainwell now. It makes no sense, but I am not touching that at all. As much as I disagreed on the Seattle offense, there's no way I can play Miles Sanders.
Do you have him in the second-year Dynasty League or the smaller one?
I have him in the second-year one. So
okay.
Please help me and take him for nothing.
Sure, I'll give you a fifth. Cade Smith, this is an interesting question. How exactly do you guys go about the defensive position? Do you ever look long-term? I think right now, at this point in the season, you're at the time where you could start to look long-term. Like say you're 8-2, or if you're locked out the playoffs, start looking at that fantasy playoff schedule. And I think you can make some decisions based on that. But also, Steelers are super good. Let's pretend they were healthy this week. And if they lost TJ Watt next week, obviously that schedule doesn't look as good. I'm mostly a week-to-week guy. Mm-hmm. And tiebreakers for me are I look 2 to 3 games down the road. I usually don't look any further past 3 weeks.
Right.
Personally.
I was going to say the same thing. Week to week, take your matchups. It always sucks when you start a defense and they get -6 points, and you're like, fuck, if you can, that's almost a 12-point swing on a bad defense.
Yeah.
But like you said, Zach, if you're you almost have a playoff spot locked up, or you're leading a division or something like that, you can get kind of liberal with it, and you may be able to take some chances and give up a game or two, as long as you're still making the playoffs by stashing a good defense who plays like Jets, Texans, or whatever, week 16, 17.
Yeah, I'm looking. I know there's one defense that's kind of flying under the radar that has super easy playoffs. I can't quite find them, but I always take it week by week. Sometimes I look 2 weeks down if it's a tiebreaker. But outside of that, I mean, there's no reason. Zach showed me, and it's worked perfectly. There's no reason to even draft a defense. And if there's no reason to draft him for me, I just go week by week.
He's first in his 12-man, so it's slim pickings for defense. If you're first and you feel it's not like you're first in 5th place is 2 games back or something. If you have a good lead for first, I think you can start looking down the schedule a little bit. And we're also getting towards the end of bye weeks, but it's also smart to look at the teams who are on bye. Sometimes people just drop their defense if they're on bye. If they're good, maybe sneakily pick them up. He has Denver and Philly and the Panthers as available options. Trevor, if you want to quickly look at their schedules. Right now, I like the Panthers. I like what they're doing. And I think Cam Newton coming back will certainly limit the amount of possessions the other teams get, assuming he protects football. But I think they're going to run the ball more. They're going to put their defense in better positions. So it's one of those situations where offense makes the defense better as well. And by the way, their defense is pretty damn good anyways. To Truly Epic's point, they do have a good matchup this week. So it's definitely an ad where it's short-term and long-term, assuming they don't play Buccaneers and some really tough teams in the fantasy playoffs.
The Broncos week 14 through 17, which is usually when your playoffs are going to be Detroit, Cincinnati, at Las Vegas, at Chargers. So that's, kind of up and down. The Eagles, 14, they have a bye, which is interesting. So if you have a bye in the playoffs, that's great. But then 15, 16, 17 is Washington, Giants, Washington again.
Great.
Which is obviously good. And then the Panthers, I have the Panthers week 14 through 17, Atlanta, at Buffalo, Tampa Bay, at New Orleans. So that's a tough middle ground.
That is tough. I would play Panthers this week and then maybe play around with it. Same strategy for kickers. I drop my kicker every single week. I drop them and then I pick up whoever I can get as the top waiver wire ad. And even if I drop them before Sunday, then that means nobody else gets them. So I stream kickers every single week. If you want to check out my kicker rankings, I'm one of the top kicker rankers this year. And I think it's pretty easy to project kickers, to be completely honest. You look at red zone defense, you look at offense and red zone offense. That there's a reason why kickers who play the Bears are always really good. It's because the Bears let people drive between the 20s and they shut teams down in the red zone. And then they settle for field goals. Bada bing, bada boom, you got a good kicker. Just shit like that. Raiders, same thing. They suck in the red zone. Daniel Carlson's been great. Stuff like that. Check out my kicker rankings. We won't go over it on this show. But I go completely week to week for kickers. I never draft one. I never keep one for a couple weeks. What about you guys?
I'll give you credit because I had Prater all year just because the first, I think, 6 weeks he was number 3 and I decided to leave him. Randy Bullock is available. I'm about to pick him up right now. He is the 5th overall kicker, but he has scored double digits all but 3 weeks. That stuff, to your point, a lot of people, and even me included, don't look at kickers if they've been good. They just keep them. In a game where it's going to be close, I thank you very much because Prater's gone and now Bullock is on my team. Usually I play week to week, but sometimes it's just hard to pay attention. You don't care.
Kate, hop on flurrysports.com. You'll find our Zach's fantasy rankings there.
I'm dropping them in the chat right now for you.
But do you guys take any stock in how good an offense is when you grab a kicker? Obviously, Nick Folk's been dominating this year. New England's offense is fine, but it's not, the Rams or whatever. But does that cross your mind? They're going to get to the red zone, but maybe they're not going to convert to the touchdown at all?
100%. That's the main driving factor behind ranking kickers. And then you look at, the opposite or kind of the opposite. They're really good and they're also amazing in the red zone. You look at the Packers last year. Mason Crosby attempted 16 field goals the entire year. Mm-hmm. Packers had the number 1 offense because they just converted in the red zone. He was a terrible kicker on the best offense. So you got to look at that shit too.
Yep.
Any other? Did we talk about wide receivers? I don't think so.
Started it.
Talked about top 5.
Okay. I'm going to compare him to the consensus here. I have Brandon Cooks at 13, like I said, which is 13 spots higher than everybody else. So crap. Consensus has him at 26. Way higher on Hopkins. 5 higher on Cole Beasley. 5 higher on Jacoby. Sterling Shepard, I'm way higher. Whatever. Players I'm lower on. I am 4 lower on Terry McLaurin. I'm currently 10 lower on Mike Williams, but I am kind of coming around on him. 8 lower on Rashad Bateman. 4 lower on Donovan Peoples-Jones, even though I think I'm going to move him up. I'm 18 lower on Kadarius Toney. I think the Giants are getting healthy, and I don't like Kadarius Toney at all if they're healthy. Luke, you seem like you are in agreement.
100%. I think as soon as Saquon Barkley, it sounds like he's coming back this week, right? I think, majority of the touches on offense have to go to Saquon Barkley because he's going to be the spark plug. Like Kadarius Toney was a spark plug with Saquon Barkley out, right? How long does a spark plug stay along when your best player comes back? Not very long. Sterling Shepard, I like too. I think he's a solid receiver, just on a bad team. And they still got DeAndre Slayton, who's hasn't had a great year, but he still kind of runs those go routes, those deep kind of routes, and that seems what Kadarius Toney should be running. But he's kind of turned into this gadget player that I think Saquon Barkley kind of fills.
I agree.
Darius Slayton, sorry.
Yeah, they actually have a pretty good, and Kenny Golladay is getting healthier again. Like they got a deep, mediocre cast of wide receivers, I would say. And Kadarius Toney, I think, is wide receiver 3 at best now.
Mm-hmm.
Any other wide receiver you guys want to talk about before we talk Truly Epic's question here for tight ends?
Yes, because I need a lot of help again. This is really the story of the season for me. You have Brown over Johnson. Obviously, those guys are fighting for my flex. If Big Ben does play, does that lift Johnson up? Because Johnson seemed to get about the same amount of targets even last week as usual.
He goes way up. Or, like, I'm ranking him as if Ben plays. So,
okay.
Yeah, he would go way down if Ben does not play.
Yeah, I think he's the best receiver on this team, too.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah.
Also, shout out Zach. I just got a text from the guy I'm playing who just sent me, damn it, I was going to pick up Bullock. So give it Zach Brunner and Flurry Sports. Or no, I totally butchered your last name. Don't listen to that. Flurry. Don't fire me. Flurry Sports, getting you the information 15 minutes before you need it.
Let's just hope Ryan Tannehill doesn't keep taking goal line touches, I guess, and scoring touchdowns.
I don't know. They might throw Fat Randy in there at running back with their whole thing going on.
Baby, there we go. Let's get it. Speaking of that, like, where's Fat Rob? Where'd Rob Kelly go? I kind of liked him. Packers need to pick him up. Other wide receivers to talk about. I think I'm going to move him up. I like Donovan Peoples-Jones versus the Lions. He got shut down last week for the Browns. Baker Mayfield clearly hurt, but so is Jarvis Landry. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is the best outside receiver they kind of have right now. And I think for sure for DFS, he's a great play. I think he's sneaky. Just in season long, he's probably out there in a decent amount of leagues. I think you can pick him up.
Who's the other receiver that they have?
Rashard Higgins.
That's who I was high on last year, and felt like Donovan Peoples-Jones kind of stole that role. And there's obviously a connection between Baker and Peoples-Jones, right? He keeps hitting them on these long ones. Odell's gone. Take whatever stock you want into that, but even with Odell, Donovan Peoples-Jones had way more of that connection with Baker, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's go to tight ends here. Wrap it up. Which tight end is more droppable? Dalton Schultz, Dawson Knox. A lot of Daltons at tight end, but Dawson Knox or Dallas Goedert. A lot of D names too. For me, it's Dalton Schultz. I think his role goes way down with Michael Gallup back.
Mm-hmm.
I think he still has a role, but I don't think it's as prevalent as the other two. I think I like Dallas Goedert the most long term, but they're all kind of in that same sort of tier for me. What do you guys think?
I think based on, I don't know. I think based on what's been going on this season, I like Dustin Knox. If he didn't have this hand injury, I don't know how much that's going to play a factor because, right before he got hurt, they were going to him a ton in the red zone. Dalton Schultz, he kind of fell off a cliff for me after CeeDee Lamb kind of broke out this year. And you're right, especially with Michael Gallup coming back, he kind of plays that big guy, middle of the field kind of player. And Dallas Goedert is just not on a great passing offense. So I understand what this guy's question is. I would be kind of upset if I had all three of them too, and I think I'd have two or three of them in the league. But I think I agree with you, Zach, with Dallas Goedert. I think if Eagles ever want to get their passing game going, I think Dallas Goedert has to be involved for that to get going more than Schultz and Knox have to be involved for their respective teams, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Schultz, it hurts my heart to say it, but you got to drop Schultz. Like, he's tight end 8. Great start to the season, right? Nothing weeks 1 or 2, but double digits weeks 3 through 6. But since then, he's had 14 targets and 7 receptions, no touchdowns. That's more the norm. There aren't any great matchups for tight ends, really, in their schedule, especially seeing how many other weapons they have. And Knox and Goddard, like, they're going to get theirs. So they're guys you keep.
Yep.
Let's see if I can throw a wrench into this entire thing. I think I'd rather have Dan Arnold than all 3. Does anybody disagree?
Yes.
Maybe pick them up. Keep those 3. Let's get a 4th on there. Pick them up. Play the matchups. Why not?
See if Logan Thomas is available too while you're at it.
Legit. He may come back this week. I love Logan Thomas more than all of them. So
5
maybe you're
tight end
dropping
team,
2
baby.
of them.
2 flex tight end plays. Gotta love it.
Looking like my Dynasty squad. I just got a million tight ends. None of them are good. Dynasty, yeah. I was thinking of Dan Arnold. I had Dan on the brain. Tight ends, number 1, I have Travis Kelce versus the Cowboys. George Kittle, 2 at the Jaguars. Darren Waller, 3 versus the Bengals. Mark Andrews, 4 at the Bears. And Mike Gesicki, 5 at the Jets. Trevor, you love talking tight ends. What do you think of those 5?
It was so funny last week. One of my buddies had Gesicki. Said, damn, I should not have played him. His backup tight end he left on his bench was Hawkinson. So that was entertaining. It's just a perfect representation of tight ends this year. Like, Gesicki and Hawkinson should have balled out or at least done something. And even with 7 targets, like, Gesicki couldn't do anything. Obviously, that's going to change. I don't think he's going to go crazy, right? But I think he's probably going to get something like, 4 receptions for 50 yards. And in these tight end rankings, that's 5. Honestly, on some weeks, that might even be good enough for 4, sadly.
Yeah. So shout out to you, Zach, for, it's one game, but think, after that last play against the Packers for Patrick Mahomes, maybe he's starting to get it back a little bit and came on through 5 touchdowns last week. That obviously bodes so well for Travis Kelce, right? But I think out of 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think I'd rather have Hunter Henry. I think I'd put him at 2.
That's fair.
Because, this Patriots offense, the Patriots are playing damn good football right now, and Mac Jones is playing good football, and he is connecting with Hunter Henry a lot, especially for touchdowns. And really, in my mind, you're chasing touchdowns from tight ends. You're not really, looking for 100 yards receiving. You're looking who's going to get to the red zone, who's going to score the touchdowns. And Hunter Henry's been that guy, at least of recently. But I just wanted to pose this question for you. Maybe it's me being not a great football watcher this year, but when's the last time a tight end this year has had a huge week?
Darren Waller, week 1.
That's what came to my mind.
CJ Uzama had that massive week. But even still, to your point, like, Hunter Henry's week last week was massive because he found the end zone twice, and I think he did twice. But yeah, yardage-wise, it hasn't been good. It's been really bad. I don't get it.
It's somehow been worse than last year. Like, it pains me more.
Yeah. Gesicki had a big week in there, too. That might have been against Jacksonville. But, yeah, I don't know. Henry's a good call, though, especially if Jonnu Smith's out again. I was saying how Damien Harris is the guy on the goal line in the red zone. If they're not handing it off to him, they're throwing it to Gesicki or to Henry. And then maybe, I guess now, Jacoby Myers. Like I said, I think they're going to try to keep that tight end touchdown streak going for whatever reason. Yeah, I like Henry quite a bit. If you're talking about who has touchdown upside amongst these tight ends, I think he has just as much touchdown upside as, I was going to say anyone not named Travis Kelce, but I think anyone. I think he has just as much as Travis Kelce right now.
I think so, too. I will say Kyle Pitts had a couple big weeks, too.
He did.
That's true.
He did. And we're talking about earlier how I we all seemingly, I guess, think that the Patriots are going to try to take away Kyle Pitts, and I think that makes the most sense. I have him ranked at tight end 10 as a result. Comparing to the consensus, that's 4 spots lower than the consensus. And I may be inclined to move him further down. It's just the more you move him down, the worse the tight end names look. And it's a scary thought. But I don't think he's a top 10 guy this week. So maybe it makes sense. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree with you. We said Kyle Pitts the New England's probably going to take him away. I'm almost wondering if New England's going to take him away by blitzing because Matt Ryan's not moving out of that pocket whatsoever. Matt Judon's having a good year. Was Matt Judon hurt at all or COVID or something like that earlier in the year?
I think he was hurt. He missed games, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. And I think he's back from what I read. So I think that's huge for
he's back, sure, yes.
If you have Kyle Pitts, you're not going to sit him because, like we just said, that there's so many bad tight ends. But I mean, if Hunter Henry's out there, I would definitely consider picking him up and starting him over Kyle Pitts this week.
Judon hasn't missed games, so he's good to go. Yeah, I thought he did too, though. But yeah. Yeah, just comparing to the rest of the consensus, like I said, 4 lower on Kyle Pitts. I'm 4 lower on Dalton Schultz. I have him at 13. I'm higher on Dan Arnold. I have him at 8. Consensus is at 12. I think he's fairly safe. If you're trying to pick a tight end who doesn't bust without a touchdown, like a lot of these guys are touchdown dependent. He's clearly not touchdown dependent because he hasn't scored a damn touchdown yet. But I think his touchdown upside's actually kind of low. But I think he's going to get high yardage, high catches, and everything like that. I think he's decent. And then everyone's ranking the Washington tight ends super low because they're hurt. They don't know what to do. Ricky Seals-Jones is banked up. Logan Thomas could come off IR, could not. I think whoever plays and starts is borderline top 12 for me. I like him a decent amount. We just got to see who that is.
Yeah, Washington tight ends aren't coming off the field, so.
No. Whoever's starting is going to play 95+% of the snaps. Any other tight end you want to talk about? Is there any questions? No, we're good.
Weekly guarantees. Luke, this is the coronation. Before we took yours away, which we decided to give you the point anyways, because you said Odell would have a catch. We said, haha, look at Luke, he's an idiot. And then you were right. The only one who was right. So he gave you a point for that, although he also gave you a loss because Marquis Brown did not have 100 yards. So I'm going to personally set a limit. You cannot do one on any of my starters ever again on my fantasy team because you screw it up. Zach last week said, Benjamin top 35. That was more on Arizona. I said Devontae 10 catches, 100 yards. Don't know how that didn't happen. And then obviously, Luke, your other one was Marquise Brown, 100+ yards. Zach, do you want to start this week?
First of all, Zach, before you go, how does Marquise Brown not get 100+ yards when Miami put 8 guys in the box every single play?
Dude,
he had 13 targets. I don't know.
Right. He had a bunch of drops. But...
Yeah. He should have no matter what. But Lamar, clearly people are like, let's just blitz Lamar because as soon as you blitz him, his eyes don't look downfield. He has no idea how to read a defense. He's on the sideline yelling at his wide receivers. They're probably like, dude, just fucking throw me the ball wide open.
Real quick.
Yeah, when he does, they drop it.
Thank you. My buddy said he's an MVP, knows how to read a defense. He got a 6 on the Wonderlic, so he does not. But beside the point, that's my little rant.
Yeah, he's
fluke game.
Not great.
MVP Lamar Jackson.
We have an article coming out on Flurry Sports about each of us picking our awards. I'll spoil it. I picked Lamar Jackson, so take that for what you will. Do I think he's a great quarterback? No. I think he's a great athlete, though, and he's doing some crazy shit. Okay, I'm going to do a similar one to last week since that worked out so well. I'm going to go with Wayne Gullman. I have him ranked 28th in half PPR. Consensus has him ranked 42nd in half PPR. I'll do the same damn thing, I guess. I'll split the difference and say he's a top 35 running back. Here we go. What do you got,
Where
Trevor?
did Luke go?
Sorry, I had to plug my computer in.
I don't know. I have not been paying attention to making my own. And I
Let me
lost
answer a
where mine
question
was.
quick then. Let me answer a question quick from Zach Gilfand. Trade Joe Mixon and Dalton Schultz for Jamar Chase and Antonio Brown. I would only consider it if you are stacked at running back, obviously. To the point, like, even if Joe Mixon is my RB2, I think I'd rather keep Joe Mixon. But if you are desperate for wide receiver help, I think those are two decent wide receivers, and I like buying Antonio Brown right now. What do you think, Luke?
Yep, like Antonio Brown. That's the one that does it for me. I chased Jamar Chase. Is that what you said? I'm sorry. I talked about only 300-yard games. I don't know that this trade is going to go through. Like, obviously Joe Mixon's a great running back, right? But I think people are too in the air about Jamar Chase, and people know that Antonio Brown is good. I think more than people let on to think. So I don't think that this guy would accept this trade if he was smart. But I think it would definitely be a helpful trade for you, especially if you have running back depth, and you can trade away Joe Mixon.
Second or third, I guess.
Yeah. I think he goes through. I think Joe Mixon's a stud, but yeah. Trevor, do you have your guarantee ready to go?
I do. Jalen Hurts is my quarterback, and he's hurts me a lot. That's how you do a pun, Zach. Take notes. He has not been good the last 3. Thank you. He has not been good the last 3 weeks, and a lot of that is because obviously he has not done anything on the ground, and he's really not done much in the air either. Obviously, some of that against Detroit was because they beat the brakes off him so bad. I think if Sanders does come back, I think that opens him up to run for another touchdown. That's what I think he does. I think for the first time since week 6, which it feels weird saying it for Hurts, he rushes for a touchdown.
I like it.
And I'm just going to go nice and easy. I'm going to give, Hunter Henry's corner another one.
Hard to bet against him at this point, so I like that too. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we move on to Lombardi sweep in a few minutes?
Luke, Cy Young Award to Corbin Burns. How do you feel?
Feels nice. About fucking time, man. It took him so long to release that. That's been known since May that he was going to win Cy Young.
It's weird that the baseball took too long to do something. That's kind of crazy.
As Zach looks blankly into the distance.
No, I was trying to come up with a nice jab, and I hit it. Hit him right in the nose, like Frank Gore's going to do to Darren Williams and knock his ass out.
Oh, yeah. We should talk about this. What's the result of that? I think Frank Gore by first round TKO.
I'm taking Darren Williams first round TKO.
You think anybody can knock out Frank Gore?
Yep.
Did you hear what Shady said? He sparred with him, and he said he's got hands made of bricks.
Who?
I believe in Shady McCoy. I believe in Shady, and I believe in Frank Gore. He's been boxing since like 2006. He's got to win. Easy.
There's also nothing that could ever knock Frank Gore out. You can say Frank Gore loses. There's zero chance he gets knocked out. That's impossible.
Darren Williams is going to flop and concuss himself, and he's going to be knocked out.
Nope.
Also, he's a bitch. Like I tweeted immediately, congratulations to his family who's going to get a very large life insurance check because the dude's going to die in the ring. Frank Gore's going to take his winnings, go back to the NFL, win a Super Bowl with who? It doesn't matter. He'll just join the team the week before, and he's going to get a ring, as he deserves. Frank Gore is the stud. He's the best. And by the way, he's going to do it without wearing pads like he's done his entire career.
Okay.
He doesn't need protection. You know who needs protection? Darren Williams needs protection. It's going to go to the end. It's these bullshit boxing fights. It's going to be a decision. But he's going to win it.
Luke.
Hey, no, shout out Jake Paul. That's what I'm going for.
No, we're not talking about Jake Paul. We're talking about Darren Williams or Frank Gore, man.
He said Williams.
Yeah, but which round? By what means?
I told you, first round knockout.
What?
Yeah.
Frank Gore's going to come out.
Okay. Well, we need to go to the
that's why I went on a rant.
Get to the next show.
He's going to come out too crazy. He's going too big. Darren Williams is going to be too fast. He's going to hit him once. Frank Gore's going to
Williams fast. I've never heard that before in my life.
Listen, he's going to get Frank Gore's going to get hit in the face once. He's going to go down because he's not going to expect it. And then, he's going to be getting up for a while. He's not going to know the boxing rules. and then they're going to charge him 10 seconds too much. Nope, you're out. Get out of here. Darren Williams.
Then that's not a KO. That's a disqualification.
Yeah, it's called a TKO.
TKO.
Like, I can get behind him not knowing the rules. That's the only way it happens, but I can understand that part. We will be back in like 5 to 10 minutes with Lombardi Sweep talking about the Packers. Because I don't want to talk about it then, shout out to everyone who wasted $335 on a stock, which was pretty cool. Congratulations to you. Can't write it off in taxes, but you can print it off yourself, so that's pretty cool.
And
also use it as
sell it
toilet
for
paper.
2.5 cents against your will.
Can't wait for someone to buy the Packers, and you get 2.5 cents. Congratulations. Spend it wisely. Okay, be back in a little bit.